Oh my God, no.
I watched in horror as this popular YouTuber, Jay Swigler, built a pallet wood sauna that luckily burned down. Why was it lucky? Because the build was a disaster. A chemical and fire hazard unlike I have ever seen before. I'm going to walk you through the obvious mistakes he did and how it could be avoided. Proper planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Before I even start building this thing, I need to figure out 3 major things.
Whether this is even possible on a £500 budget.
First mistake, don't make budget your goal. He wanted to build a sauna for under £500, and there's the first catch. Setting a budget before investigating what the true costs are. It's an honorable mission, and I do enjoy watching someone being creative and keeping the budget on the low end, but however, the build must not be a danger to human health or lives. I would first do research, then try to set a budget, and I would not be afraid to overspend a bit, because the first time you do something, you don't know jack. Let's go through his entire build step by step.
We're going to get the breeze blocks in the floor now, and we're going to see where we're at in terms of level.
Another 3 hours of digging holes and flattening sand later, we're finally ready to get our floor laid down.
Second mistake, poor research leads to poor performance, starting with the foundation. I believe he built this sauna in Telford, England. Even though they have mild winters and the risk of frost heave is generally low, certain conditions can create problems because of the soil type, moisture level and temperature fluctuations. There should at least be done something about the drainage beneath the sauna. Digging a graded slope leading the water out from under the sauna and filling the slope with gravel would probably be sufficient. Then the brindle blocks would also be less prone to moisture. Brindle blocks can work well if properly installed. Continuous exposure to moisture may weaken the blocks over time and reduce their load-bearing capacity. And moist brindle blocks are prone to cracking during freezing temperatures. Next.
We need to insulate the floor to make sure it's 100% heat resistant.
Third mistake, poor performance leads to big mistakes. All right, moving on to the pallet wood floor. If you place wood on brindle blocks, especially moist brindle blocks, you should have a moisture barrier that prevents the moisture from wicking into the wood, which will lead to rot.
This is the most important part of this entire project, because without insulation, this thing is going to lose heat and it's not going to be a sauna.
Insulating the floor in this case is not necessary, and it will only make the floor rot faster because of storage of moisture and poor ventilation. Water might seep through the cracks in the floor and store in the insulation. It's a very bad idea. And finally, rodents, they love insulation, and there is not rodent proofing here, and rats will most likely move in. They'll piss, shit and make babies in your floor, and the sauna will stink of rat feces, and you'll have to tear down the whole sauna if you don't like the smell of that.
Because without insulation, this thing is going to lose heat and it's not going to be a sauna.
Jay is actually spot on here. And then when you look at the video, he then insulates the floor with rat beddings and makes the most leaky sauna I have ever seen. Just look at all these places where the heat will leak out of the sauna.
Then we have to cut the wall insulation to size and slot those inside the walls like a big game of Tetris. And
After on the roof, this is honestly, it's starting to look like what it can finally be.
I
overdone it. Yeah. You could easily see like 5-6 people along here, no problem.
So I'm starting to think this project is just a joke, but he seems serious enough, so I will play along. He might have used some toxic expansion foam to fill the gaps later.
I am seating. The next step is to do.
we worked into the night, paneling the floor, the walls, the seats and the ceiling, and this is what we're left with.
Let's see. These pallets are often pine wood. They tend to produce sap that is unlucky in a sauna. When the sap heats, it gets liquid and burning hot and a bit sticky. Now let's put that on your skin. Yeah, not a great idea. That's why we don't use pine wood in a sauna.
And speaking of MDF, this was one of only a few times that we used wood that wasn't scrap.
MDF, it is the worst idea ever. Only use pure wood products in a sauna. MDF is made out of wood fibers and adhesives, often formaldehyde-based resins, and at temperatures above 80 degrees, the adhesives in an MDF can break down. And then you will have emissions of toxic gases, which might give you respiratory issues and irritations of the eyes and the skin. You probably will become dizzy at some point as well. MDF is also highly absorbent and lacks moisture resistance, and you will most likely have swelling, warping and deterioration by using MDF in a sauna. Use wood like spruce, cedar, aspen or hemlock. And yes, real wood is often a big part of your sauna budget, along with the oven and pipe. Moving on, there is no ventilation, no drainage, and staples are left in the wall.
And just to prove that this thing is made entirely from pallets, look at all these little stamps from the...
Since he doesn't go in depth on the details, I have to go by what I see. There's a painted door. You never use paint inside a sauna. Chemical gases might release when heated. And he uses expansion foam around the door and in the corners of the build, and probably he fills it in around all these plates that were quite loose. It's not recommended because the risk of gases. It can also melt around 90 degrees Celsius, which a well-built sauna can do. Fourth mistake, big mistakes leads to big disasters. This is where Jay will put the oven. Normal fire rules in my country is placing the wood fire oven 60 centimeters away from material that may burn. You know, material like pallet wood. Looking at his setup, I would guesstimate he put it 5 centimeters away from the wall, and that is not a good idea. If he spent 30 pounds on cement and rebar, he could have costed some fireproof plates behind and under the oven, and at least the thing wouldn't be a fire hazard. Not doing this probably led to the whole thing burning down. Now, after 4 weeks of work and 500 pounds up in smoke and no sauna, the best part of the video, it's the end, where he admits it was a bad idea. It is such a classic, but I love guys that admits mistakes and moves on to the next projects, or even better, do the same project over again, but this time just making it work. And I believe it could work, and it would not cost that much more. In the meantime, Jay, if you want a great sauna experience in a chemical-free, non-fire hazard built to last sauna, you're welcome to join me throwing some fern needle oils on the hot rocks and just lean back and enjoy pure excellence.
MartinWood Studios.
Welcome, woodpeckers.